Hello and welcome to the Scoutcast from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk and ahead of, I've got in brackets, double Game Week 29. Not sure if it's going to be a double yet. It's been a punishing Game Week 28 for many, but we are hoping for better luck from this weekend's matches. My name is Joe. And
Hi, I'm late rise at 12.
And my name is Az. Smooth.
Welcome everyone. That was so smooth, wasn't it? We've got some smooths coming. Have we got any smooths? Yeah, we have got a few smooths, and we've got lots of roughs coming up as well. Because Game Week 28 was rough as old boots. So we're going to look ahead to the start of this game week, this weekend, and beyond. Az, what else is coming up in the show?
Well, big theme is form versus fixtures. So we've got some strikers with great form and terrible fixtures, and we've got a striker with great fixtures and terrible form. I'll leave it there for now. In terms of the teams, we're looking to see who's on the bench and who's fighting. Who's on the beach and who's fighting like a Spartan. So relegation battlers versus the teams who are a bit more safe in mid-table. Meanwhile, loads of news coming in this week about forthcoming blanks and double game weeks. We're going to have a really good picture of that by the end of the week. So anyone with their chips left are at an advantage. For those who don't have any left, mentioning no names on the Scoutcast, we'll look at the key developments on these and what our plans are. And then we're just going to look back on, well, I think let's quickly go over Game Week 28 because it's absolutely horrible, me particularly, and hopefully a better Game Week 29 to come. So we've got all the usual rough, smooth, differentials and clean sheets to think about.
Okay, let's start looking back at Game Week 28. As said, we'll be brief because it wasn't great for anyone. So apparently 37 points puts me at the top of the tree. I mean, not that, I'm having a street party about it. 37 points. I was out all of Saturday, so I did a bit of a match of the day challenge. And wow, I was quite disappointed. But when I saw everyone else's scores, I thought, actually, 37 points will do me. Yeah, achievement unlocked for me. I don't know if anyone's noticed with eagle eyes there. Fernandez double. It's a rare achievement there, getting the Z and the S Fernandezes both scoring for me. Basically, both of them saving my game week from oblivion. Jimenez helped out, as he often does. Green Arrow up to about 50k-ish, so quite happy with that. Lots to ponder for Game Week 29, which we'll discuss in the Scoutcast. Holding up well. Who is next? It's Pranil. You got 35
Hey.
You got 35 points. Got you. So yeah, tell us about your game week. 35 points, quite good for this week.
Yeah, decent. I mean, I'll take it. It's pretty much the same as you. Even I had Fernandez and Jimenez showing up for me. Everyone else pretty much didn't do anything. Before the game week, I was actually looking at doing Aguero to Vardy, but there was that last-minute team news chaos that happened, and I ended up doing Marshall to Barnes. Pretty okay with how that went, but I rose 7 places in my rank, which is pretty decent. I went from 7 places. So it's pretty much a gray arrow. I went from 1621 to 1614, but I don't mind that at all. I'll take it. I don't think holding position is a bad week. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, no, good. As bad score, but 23 points, but good week to have a bad week, I guess.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's just a bit frustrating because I've been on a good run and I took the punt on Alexander-Arnold captain. That didn't pay off. Jimenez did well for me. Charlie Taylor, who I bought in, got some points. But it was all this kind of last-minute panic with Vardy, and in the end, I did Grealish to Maddison, and Maddison was really poor in that game, and Leicester were really bad. And I kind of just wish Well, it's easy to say with hindsight, isn't it? But I wish I just left him or just gone for Harvey Barnes and had a bit more money to play with. Just really poor. I mean, I was really happy when I saw the team sheets on Sunday because Martial and Traore both started, and I wasn't expecting either of them to play, and they both blanked. So that was a bit upsetting. And Bolly got zero.
Just that kind of week.
Yeah, just all the things that could have really gone wrong.
Fernandez has just been sensational. For those that've got him in, are you tempted to do that switch, Martial to Fernandez?
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Okay. I mean, you watch it like it's like watching the two most opposite players ever. You've got all action, box to box, shooting in the box, shooting outside the box, got set pieces, penalties, everything, versus the laziest player I think I've ever seen play football in my life, who just has the odd moment of just absolute quality and inspiration. But if you're thinking about purely FPL wise, there's not really any there's no contest between the both of them. So I think I'll get away with it this week. City's not an easy game. United have been doing quite well in the big games, but you've got to think he'd be like Fernandes be lucky to get another double-digit haul against City, so I can hold it on for a week. But yeah, it's definitely on my mind. It's got to be done.
Yeah, that's exactly why I got him in for Son. I don't know. It feels like a year ago, just a couple of weeks ago. But for all those reasons, it was just the eye test. He was just involved in everything, and he looked like he could score, and he looked like he could assist. And then after I got him in, and they found out that he was basically their penalty taker now as well. I just thought, no.
The trouble with Martial,
being a United,
I was going to say he plays up front, but then drifts over to the wing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's on the wing, he's got no urgency to get back into the box. So, he goes on the wing, they break, all the United players start pouring forward, like Fernandes and everyone, and Martial's just sat on the touchline, having a beer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's two completely different types of play.
Martial's actually a better asset in some of the easier games for United because we don't fall back that often, so he tends to be in the final third of the pitch. He's more useful in those games. I've actually captained him twice in such games and scored with him in both cases. Pretty happy with Bruno myself. I'm a United fan, so I managed to get him before he kicked the ball for United. Yeah. Delighted. Happy he's ours.
But get him quick if you don't have him, because he is shooting up. I don't know what his price is now. I just see he's just shooting up every few days. So
it was always going to happen. United player in form. Yeah. Such a big
fan base. Their global fan base is just affects it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. As soon as the Man United player does well, that's it. Yeah.
It's frustrating this week because this would have been a perfect week to even have done Martial to Fernandes for a hit. Martial was a doubt. Yeah. I could have justified it going into the game. I just didn't trust. It was because I didn't trust Solskjaer, because he's done this before. He claims the player's injured and then they're absolutely fine. I was like, Martial will be all right. And if I just believed him, if he had a bit more integrity, I would have done that move and it would have been fine. So I blame Oli.
He also has the worst poker face ever. Like, that's all just light smile here.
He's up for the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to some rough with the smooth. So, Fernandes we've spoken about, but obviously Vardy and the likes of Sarr figure quite highly in our rough with the smooth. So, Az, what have we got?
Yeah, it was a kind of a tale of looking at the roughs to make myself feel better and looking at the smooths and getting a bit annoyed with them. So I'll go through these. The roughs, lots of people got caught out by Vardy. I know quite a few people in mini leagues who had already bought Vardy in, after the Leicester press conference. Bought Vardy in thinking it was all going to be okay, and then you get the news sort of an hour before the deadline, everyone's scrambling to get rid of him. EG, for example, he took Calvert-Lewin out for Vardy.
I think I put EG. It's meant to be Urbox there. Sorry, that's my fault in the notes.
Thanks, Joe. Make him look a fool.
No, that's my fault. I made myself look a fool there. For example, it was a person called Urbox, who is an Everton fan.
Well, Urbox took Calvert-Lewin out for Vardy, which on paper, a game against United versus a game against Norwich looks pretty decent, but suffers from that. Sarr ownership, so Alex. Anyone that kept Sarr for this long, and I'm going to come to that in one of our smooths, but fair play to them. I can completely see why you bench him. You keep him for all his injury things. You're not expecting points against Liverpool, and then you get 19 points, was it? Yeah. Crazy. And the worst thing about Alex is he had Williams. He played Williams, and if Williams hadn't come on for the last minute, he would have got Sarr's points off the bench.
Wow, so, that's terrible.
Yeah, 18 point sub from Ole there. So cheers for that. MGM, very rough, took an 8-point hit, ended up with 12-point net score. Scuba Smithy, 18 points. He had one return in his whole team, and when your one return in your whole team is a Newcastle defender, you've had a bad week.
Yeah.
Some pretty bad ones there. Smooths. First of all, I've got to shout out to David, because when I saw Sarr going absolutely bananas, I quickly checked his team and I thought, surely he's taken him out. He's had him this long. He's got Liverpool. Surely he's gone. No, there he is, starting in his team. Fair play. To keep him for this long. I don't know how he did that or why he did that, but it's paid off. Quick thinking. Lots of people acted quickly on the Vardy news. So people who took him out and spread the money around their team did well. So Mike the Knight took Vardy, Grealish and McGovern out, brought in Fernandes, Jimenez and Pope. 19 points. Brilliant. Lovely. Michael Fish had one better, took a -4, brought in Doherty, Fernandes and Jota. 30 points up on that deal.
That's a net gain of 30 points.
Stuff of dreams.
Isn't that
Stuff of
amazing?
dreams.
Crazy. Love it.
And Gulio, he had double Newcastle defence. Aurier, Pope, Calvert-Lewin, Fernandez, 60 points in this week. It's absolutely huge. Triple my score. So, yeah. So some people had, when there's a bad week like this, you do see the occasional people with a really good score. So fair play to all of them.
Okay, let's move on to the topic. So as usual, we sort of divide this up to the players people are talking about, the teams, and of course the talking point. Now the talking point, we are leaving a bit till later because Matt is looking at strategy. I know Pranil is taking that section, but there's matches going on at the moment. So as we are recording, we have the crucial game really is Liverpool against Chelsea. Chelsea are 1-0 up. So as it stands, Liverpool will be playing in Gameweek 31. But there are other matches as well. Who is it again? Newcastle playing tonight, Sheffield United. So obviously same thing. If they lose, they can get a game. And if they win, then they can through from the cup, and they're going to have a blank in Game Week 31. So we'll keep you updated as events arise there. But in the meantime, want to look at some players. Now, is budget strikers in form versus in fixtures? It's basically Ings versus Calvert-Lewin. But you can broaden that out really to a whole range of other options as well. We've got loads of questions about these guys. Yeah, you're an Ings owner. Lots of us are. What on earth do you do? Because he's got great fixtures, but is he going to play? Is he injured? Is Southampton firing on all cylinders with Redmond out? Have they just given up? Are they on the beach? Meanwhile, Calvert-Lewin for Everton's got the roughest fixtures. He can't stop scoring, and he's looking amazing. Ancelotti is, I'm very tempted to get him back in. So the real results really from Game Week 28 are form 1 and fixture 0. So Southampton, they're flagging really. So we've had some community questions. Felix, is the Ings party over? Karen 14, is it time to sell Danny Ings? See the theme here. And Arbroath, who is the best replacement for those looking to move Ings on? Calvert-Lewin? And Jota as well from Wolves, another name in the frame. They're making case for those cheap mid-price forward slots. Pranil, what do you reckon? I don't know, any of these guys in your team? Any you'd like to be in your team?
I actually have Shane Long because I couldn't afford Ings when I was
always
getting
different.
money. Yeah. He did well. I mean, so I just noticed that Long had better stats than Ings in the last 4 weeks, so I went for him because I couldn't afford Ings. Let me be honest. But people who have Ings, depending on what your chip strategy is, depending on what you're planning to do with 29 and 31, he's either a hold, or if you're selling, I'd sell him for Jota or Jimenez. I wouldn't sell him for DCL. Because DCL has 2 tough games. I know that Everton. There's a great stat about Everton. In the last 4 matches, the last 4 game weeks, Everton are top in the entire league for the big chances created. So they're under Ancelotti. They're producing a lot of attacking football. Wolves are not bad themselves. They're top 3 for shots in the box and big chances in the last 4 games. But I just feel like Wolves have a definite fixture in 31. They have a good fixture in 32 as well. So if there's a hierarchy, I prefer Jota, Jimenez. Then there's DCL, and then there's Ings. But I wouldn't make the switch from Ings to DCL because take a chance, or play as per your chip strategy.
Yeah, no, it's good points there. I think that's the thing, isn't it, about Calvert-Lewin? You're looking at the fixtures and go, I wouldn't bring him in because of the fixtures. But he keeps scoring in those type of fixtures. But I know what you're getting at with Jota, especially about those chip strategies as well. If you don't want to play your free hit, Jota, is going to play in Game Week 31. Well, if he gets selected. But Wolves have a fixture then. Az, what do you reckon?
Well, this seems like classic Az, like avoiding a player who's clearly in form, playing for an attacking team the most big chances created in the league, versus Ings, who everyone's got, getting benched, Southampton looking rubbish again. Like, it's a really simple switch. And if we were casual players, we would be looking at Ings' points and going, nah, he's rubbish now. Oh, Calvert-Lewin's really good, and bang, he's in. And probably, but because we're overanalyzing it, we run into, and I do it every year. I think I think it's a really solid switch doing Ings to Calvert-Lewin. I think Ings's games are difficult because his next sort of 5 games are against teams who are all playing for something: Newcastle, Norwich, Arsenal, Watford, City. I mean, to be fair, most teams are playing for something at this stage. But I mean, Norwich want to get out of this relegation spot. If they're gonna try have any chance of escaping relegation, they need to win that game.
They've become a difficult team to beat now. They've been putting
and
in
at home. At home,
Yeah.
they've got some decent defending stats. I mean, Arsenal I think that game off now because Arsenal got through.
We know that Arsenal and Southampton definitely blank.
Arsenal and Southampton is off.
Yeah. So in the next 3 games, they've got one blank, one pretty tough game against Norwich. Then they've got Watford away. I think that's a tough game as well, given that Watford can turn it on. And then they've got City. So the fixtures are really bad for Ings. So I know we've got the form and fixtures thing going, but I know they look green on paper, but I don't actually think they're that good. Whereas Calvert-Lewin's fixtures, I don't think are that bad. I mean, Chelsea cannot defend for anything. I mean, there's absolutely no way Chelsea are going to keep a clean sheet against Everton if they're creating any chances.
Some great defensive stats, though. I mean, I keep seeing them just above City and Liverpool, who are posting the good defensive stats.
Yeah, but I don't trust you on defensive stats, Pranil, because you were saying Liverpool were going to lose the clean sheets, and they went on a run of about 11 games. So I'm taking what you said with a pinch of salt. I mean,
that magnet is removed in front of the goal now. I'm so glad about this. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I was upset with that. But it's a team like that is quite. You always feel like with Chelsea, they're just very fragile. Like, they've got great stats, everything looks good, and then they can just suddenly just have a complete switch off and
they switch off for 10-15 minutes in every game. They keep doing that. Lampard's mentioned that as well. So,
and it seems to happen. So I think up against one of the most informed strikers in the league, got Richarlison there as well, creating loads of chances. I think they're going to score in that. Liverpool at home, I mean, that's a derby. That could be absolutely anything. If Liverpool focus on the Champions League now and they're taking their foot off the gas. And then they've got Norwich, and then they've got Leicester, and then they've got Spurs. I mean, those are Leicester and Spurs at the moment are good games as well. So I'd say, the hardest game out of those 5 is probably Norwich away, which is absolutely ridiculous.
And the only thing you need to watch out there is Norwich is not a set fixture. It actually depends on how the FA Cup game goes between Spurs and Norwich. So we just got to look out for that as well.
Yeah, good point.
If Norwich win against Spurs, then that game doesn't go ahead.
Yeah. Cool.
So we need to watch out for that. Yeah.
But I just think this is classic me. I don't think Calvert-Lewin's a particularly good player based on very little knowledge of having watched Calvert-Lewin in the past, and so I'm being really stubborn about bringing him in, and it's going to end up costing me over the next 4 weeks. So I just say my advice is do it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean,
why not get Jota instead? My question would be that. I mean,
yes. So I've got 3 Wolves already, so I can't get Jota. Jota is an incredibly streaky player, so I think you're banking on the fact that he's going to carry on. He's
banging form. I'm watching him play. He's so sharp right now.
He's getting subbed at 70 minutes every game. If you're happy with that, and you're happy with, if you're happy with getting 10 plus points every week, I guess you don't mind when he gets subbed. I just worry a bit. I mean, I just prefer Jimenez as an option. I think he's just so consistent, and I can see Jota sort of progressing a bit.
I actually. I'm a fixtures guy, but when it comes to strikers, I'm a form guy. And that's because I just feel that over the years I've noticed that basically the strikers are the most susceptible to form. It's the confidence, and goals breeds goals. That's basically the way it's been with a lot of strikers. Once you start getting the goal drought, the striker mentality starts going in. You start doubting your confidence. You also get players like Ings, who suddenly, but with Redmond out, are suddenly having to fulfill a sort of more creative role. So Pranil getting Shane Long in is actually a very wise move, because Shane Long is more of a striker than Ings has been recently. And as is shown, he's the guy that's been getting the points. So I'm looking really at form, and I'm looking at who is in form, who's out of form. I'm looking at the likes of Calvert-Lewin and Deeney, for example, who are actually in better form. So for me, currently Ings is just not in a list of form strikers. I have him in my team, but he's not a striker I particularly want. Calvert-Lewin, Jimenez, I do have Jimenez, thankfully, Jota and Aubameyang. They're the ones I like. I mean, pick 3 of them. 3 of those guys. If you've got 3 of them, you're happy. Or get 3 of them in. The eye test is important there. So I think anyone with a front line of Vardy and Ings just doesn't have the informed strikers. I've got Ings. I know I'm not in
Guilty.
possession. You are guilty.
Yeah.
You are not in possession of 2 informed strikers. So I've had a look at some stats. So I'm going to put some striker stats on. It's a table I've got called One Stat to Rule Them All. It was originally because people were looking at big chances, but of course this was ages ago. Of course, expected stats have started to worm their way in, and I start looking at expected goal involvement. So I'm looking at forwards who have a chance of FPL points, goals and assists, and I'm looking at that. Calvert-Lewin is absolutely top. He's doing ever so well there. You can see his stats there. 3.92 expected goal involvement. That's higher than anyone. Second is Aguero. So, Pranil, Aguero's in your team. Possible double game week coming up for Man City. Let us not forget, Aguero is actually really good. And then you're looking at Rodriguez for Burnley. Now, some of the Burnley strikers are starting to come back. So there's possible rotation there. So and then you've got the Wolves guys. Jota, Jimenez. Great. If you've got them, brilliant. And then Firmino is there, trucking along as usual. I'm not happy owning Firmino, I must admit, but there's worse. And then Aubameyang is also in that list of getting of the expected goal involvement. These are the top strikers for this, really. Jesus, if we think he's going to play, he's quite good as well. And then weirdly,
maybe get a game in the double game week.
I don't know if anyone's noticed that Benteke has been scoring points recently. And which is weird.
Stealing points.
There's no way I'm getting Benteke in my team. But
Yeah.
if you're looking for a differential that no one's going to get in, Benteke's been getting points.
4 starts as well.
4 starts, goal and assist. He is amongst the top strikers in terms of expected goal involvement over the last 4 matches.
Jeez.
All of these stats are last 4 matches. So there we go.
I think that shows how badly the strikers are doing.
Yeah, there's some absentees from that list. Ings, he's expected to have been involved in 1 goal in his last 4 matches. That's a quarter of Calvert-Lewin. So at the moment, he's a quarter of a Calvert-Lewin. And he's actually... And Vardy is low too. He's around the same measure. Okay, this is perspective here. So I've broadened this out to some midfielders as well. Solly March of Brighton has a higher expected goal involvement than Vardy over the last 4 matches. So that's where you're looking at with Vardy and Ings. So that's my thoughts.
I'd just like to add here, Joe. I was looking at some stats myself. In the last 2 matches, Jota, Jimenez, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, they all sit in the top 5 for XGI amongst all attackers in the league. So Wolves, Everton and these 4 players are bang in form. I think all of them are good options depending on what your team structure is like.
Yeah. And we'll come to strategy and blanks and doubles, etc. But one of the things I'm doing this season, which is a bit different because I've wildcarded a bit earlier, I'm doing that because I'm just this is going to sound really glib. I'm getting in good players that I think are going to score points. But previously, I think, oh no, there's a blank coming up. I must preserve this terrible West Brom defender because he's got a double coming up and that kind of thing.
Unless he's Chris Brunt.
Yeah, unless he's Chris Brunt, of course. But so for example, Aubameyang, someone I've actually earmarked to get in. He's definitely not going to play in Gameweek 31. I don't care. I just want him in. I think he's got good fixtures and he's got form. I've watched quite a bit of Arsenal playing. And I just like what I see. He just looks good. But it's just an example there. Let's move on to teams. What are we talking about there with teams?
Yeah, so on the beach we're fighting like Spartans. I mentioned it early on. So we're going to look at the teams who have nothing to play for and already on the holiday. So there's a couple of them now who I think are sort of entering into that territory. But then you've got the complete opposite of that. You've got an insane battle going on for Champions League football next year with sort of 6-7 teams all looking like they could get into that. And then you've got a massive battle down the other end of the table with 6-7 teams trying to avoid relegation. So every year we kind of talk about this and they always throw up some options. The teams that are really playing for something normally throw up some really sort of strong options. So, we're going to take a look at some of those. So, questions for the community. FPL Joker, is it time to bring in some of the relegation scrappers? How many relegation scrappers are worth getting in? It's a nice question. Glyn mentions 2 teams, Liverpool, Watford. two very different motivations. Liverpool won the league already. Watford fighting for survival. Are there any players we want to get from them? Richard says Sarr and Antonio look like good options. They're certainly fighting well against drop. Are you tempted by either of those? And Taylor Cross says, should we triple up on Wolves assets given their Champions League motivations? Also, Norwich assets worth a punt given they still have some fight in them. Yeah, I mean, I think this ties into what you're saying, Joe, is that you can get so fixated around the double game weeks and the blanks that you can ignore players from these kinds of teams who are going to score you points kind of in the short term, not have to wait 6-7 weeks until double game weeks come through. You can get points now, so why not? So let's go to you first, Josh. Any you're thinking about from any of these lot?
What, me?
You? Yep.
Well, when it comes to this time of the season, eye test is crucial. Now I'm going to mention another podcast actually, Josh and Brandon's one, Always Cheating. They've been on our shows various times, but they mentioned something there about who is smiling, and I thought it was a really good point there. Look at the body language, look at the players. Who is smiling when look at Bruno Fernandes and look at Martial. That's a good example. Who is smiling, who's not smiling?
Martial's never smiling though. He's
never smiling. Yeah.
Exactly. But you're looking at players. You look at Watford players. Look at the smile on their faces. And you're just looking. I know obviously you can smile when you're scoring goals. But you're just looking at that. Who looks happy at the moment? And this is what you need to look at. You need to really pay attention to the eye test, I think, as well as the stats. So even amongst the relegation sides, Deeney, Sarr, Grealish even sometimes, there are smiles there. But Grealish perhaps not so recently. Keep an eye on attack as well. So I'm more interested in who's going to get me goals and assists, but I will come to clean sheets in a bit. So I'm going to put some more stats up for you. So what this is last 4 matches, expected goals. So who are the top teams to target? Who look like they're motivated to score? And of course, City are right at the top by miles. City are at the top. Everton are also up there. Liverpool and Wolves. So obviously, City and Liverpool, not a surprise. Pranil was already mentioned about Everton. Everton are really going for the Champions League. They're really going for as high as they can. They're really loving playing under their new manager. Their strikers and their attackers are looking resurgent. Wolves as well are doing really well. They're really motivated, presumably, to get a Champions League place as well. And then Bournemouth, weirdly. So Bournemouth, I would have thought, what are they motivated for? Well, of course, they're fighting for the survival now. And looking at expected goals, last 4 matches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th best team is in fact Bournemouth. So while Bournemouth's defence is looking a bit ropey, they are being creative. They are actually scoring some goals. They almost beat Chelsea. Who knows? So if you're looking at some differentials there who are motivated, Bournemouth look actually motivated. Burnley, we've already seen how motivated they are. And I think there's still good assets there in terms of attack. And I think I mentioned Benteke as well. So these are the types of players. Suddenly you can see the motivation there. And you can start thinking a little bit differently, like Az was talking about the sort of ideas and prejudices we may have about particular players. And I've certainly got that about the likes of Benteke. But maybe it's time to suspend that and think, well, is he actually fighting for something here? And they're way down in the list. So Watford are really down on the list. And this is why I'm not going Watford mad at the moment. Because I'm thinking, okay, yeah, they really beat Liverpool soundly. That's an unusual result. But the last 4 matches don't play out that they're that type of team.
So when it comes to Watford, Joe, Sarr's a huge factor. They struggle without him. Big time, and when he's playing, they're playing some good football. Yeah.
So when Sarr is back, they're doing it. So that's what we're perhaps starting to see. So with this one, with Watford, and because of Sarr coming back, always got to look at the last match and think, well, is that the start of something? So at the moment, I'd like to see a bit more. So I'm a little bit wait and see, but I'm only sort of 1 match away from wait and see with Watford, and then the likes of Sarr. Deeney, suddenly I'm going to be quite interested in them. Norwich are down there, Newcastle are down there. So I worry about Newcastle, basically. I worry about their motivation. I think 0-0 is your best bet there. But I'm going to put some more stats up before we move on. Team defences. So, who is actually fighting there at the back? Once again, City are up there. Expected goals conceded, just 2 over the last 4 matches. City, I think part of us are forgetting about City. People have been transferring KDB out. Pranil's got Aguero, good move. If you've got Mahrez in your team, if you've got the likes of Otamendi even, keep him. I think City are clearly playing for something at the back and in attack. Chelsea as well, defence. Reece James, he's one to look at. I know myself and Luke in the Sky video today were looking at him.
FPL
come
royalty,
on.
Marcus Alonso.
Yeah, who's the
and of
mentioning Reece James and
no,
not Marcus
and
Alonso?
obviously
God.
Marcus Alonso. If we think he's going to be starting, yeah, he's going to get points because look at him, points at both ends of the pitch. But the point is about that is he's going to get the bread and butter of clean sheets as well as those amazing returns from attack. Wolves and Liverpool, Everton, Manchester United, they're all up there in terms of defending very well. So, yeah, usual combination, eye test, stats, but don't overlook City and who is playing for something. And it might not be in the usual places you're looking for. It might even be Christian Benteke.
Wow.
So that's my thoughts.
Well, I mean, I was writing the article yesterday for the site, and I was focusing on the kind
I
of
read
teams.
it. It was a nice piece.
Oh, thank you
read.
so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Such a charmer. Yeah, and I was looking at the kind of the teams fighting for the Champions League, and I was thinking, God, a lot of these teams don't really have that many options. I mean, you look at Chelsea. Very few options in the team. Alonso to stand out, but then when he's kind of standing out because they've got so many injuries on the wings. So you've got to think when Hudson-Odoi's back, and I mean God knows what's going on with Kovacic, but eventually they could switch back to a more kind of an Abraham. They could switch back to a more kind of orthodox formation. I mean, really, you look at United, it's Fernandes. You look at Leicester, and suddenly all their players are looking rotation risks and out of form and all this kind of stuff. So I mean. The team that really excites me has to be Wolves, and it's a really bog standard statement because obviously Wolves are a really exciting team, but they've got players. They've got. I mean, I've got Bolly, I've got Jimenez, Yotta's obviously a really good pick. Doherty at wing back, 2 double-digit points now. Like fair play to anyone that got him early on. That's an amazing move. And I mean even Traore. I mean he's got a shoulder injury. I mean, unexpected start against Spurs. Wasn't expecting to start after playing in the Europa League, which he scored in. So you can't, he's the kind of player who, you never really know what you're going to get from him. He's a very unreliable beast, but when he does hit form, he gets the points. I mean, there's lots of options there. So I think Wolves are very exciting. And if you think that they're going to get into the top 4, then it is definitely the time to jump on them because they've got great fixtures, great form. They've got literally passing the eye test, they've literally got the whole package. So the answer to the question about triple up of Wolves, I think it could be really strong. And as Pranil says, if you've got someone like Ings and you can do the Jimenez Jota double up with Doherty, I think you're gonna pretty benefit quite big from that. Just at the other end, just one tip. I mean, I do really like the look of Watford, and I think there's definitely some options being presented there. I think Sarr obviously makes that team just absolute tick. Amazing player. Got Deeney up front, the kind of less sexy option, but on penalties, always seems to deliver points. When
in the last 4 game weeks, he just had 2 points less than Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah,
not spoken about at all.
Yeah, and no one talks about it. I mean, if you look at his stats compared to Sarr, they're not even in the last match, they're not a million miles away from each other. I mean, Sarr looked like he kind of overperformed in that game. I mean, you look at his stats, you wouldn't think he'd got 19-point return from that. So I think he probably overperformed with that. I mean, the player from Watford I really like is Doucouré.
Yeah,
I've always liked Doucouré. Like unplayable on his day, so strong.
He's a top 6 player for me. He's got
he is.
Lots of talent.
I can't believe he hasn't been snapped up actually by.
Well, he's playing number 10, isn't he? He's number 10. And
why haven't Arsenal got him? He'd be such a good player for Arsenal. So yeah, I really like Doucouré. Doucouré is someone I'm actually thinking of bringing in for Traore if he's injured. So yeah, he's on my list. So yeah, I think out of all the teams fighting something, I really like the look of Watford and Wolves. Pranil, anything to add to any of this?
Just when we're talking about the relegation scrappers as well as the teams fighting for the Champions League, I just had a look at the fixtures and these teams that are highly motivated, who have good fixtures. So amongst the teams fighting for the Champions League, all the teams have good fixtures except for Sheffield United. Sheffield are in the race right now. You can't discount them. I think if they win their remaining game, they move on par or ahead of United. Wolves is covered. United, I just like to add that Wan-Bissaka and Maguire in specific are good options if you're looking to wildcard. after game week 31 because I think we're defensively pretty solid now with Fred and McTominay back. And Bruno's on set pieces and he's beginning to find Maguire a fair bit. So that's just a recommendation I'd like to make.
Nice.
Chelsea, we've spoken about Alonso. Good pick. Apart from that, everyone else is a rotation threat at the moment. So unless we have more clarity there, I wouldn't go there. Spurs also, we have good options. They have good fixtures in about 2 or 3 weeks. Bergwijn is a good option. He's doing his bit there, scoring a few goals. Amongst the relegation scrappers, I actually really like West Ham. I saw their game against Liverpool. I saw their game against Southampton. They absolutely battered Southampton. And, the fans were really happy because Moyes' family played a very attacking team with Fornals, Oller, Antonio. Antonio is one that I highly, highly recommend. I think whenever he's starting, he bangs in goals and he's very streaky. And I think he's about a 7 million odd midfielder. I recommend him. One that's caught my eye, I think Newcastle changed their formation recently in the last game, and Richie was playing in the front four, and he's a 5.3 million defender. So just watch out for that. We could have a potential out of position defender playing. Could be a good pick. So yeah, apart from that, everyone else is mentioned.
I forgot about Spurs. I'm not even counting them as any threat to top four. There's no way they're going to get anywhere near it.
Spurs have got a fixture in game week 31, and if you're free hitting, as we're going to talk about shortly, Spurs are players that I don't want, but I might give them a go for one week.
Yeah. Just the good thing is you can punt around if you're going to wildcard soon. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Can you believe though that Spurs are in the Champions League final in the summer? I mean, they just look absolutely awful, or in every position of the pitch. Like it's just, I know they've had some injuries, but God.
Yeah, I mean, and think about Liverpool without Salah and Mane. I mean, that's Son and Kane for them. They're the proper talisman. So
yeah,
I mean,
true, but like defense, like Aurier's, like it's just, and then I mean, someone like Ndombele. I mean, I thought he'd be absolutely incredible, and he just looks completely.
I mean, basically, the way I've looked at, just as a neutral looking at Spurs, and Spurs fans will probably hammer me for this, but ever since the Gareth Bale move, they had a potload of cash, and they spent loads of money, and some of them have been good, and some of them have been flops. But I don't think they've really drastically moved on terribly. They've got 1 or 2 good players in, but they haven't really moved on at all. And I think they're showing it. And as you mentioned, the defence. So they're starting to play like some teenagers there. Aurier is just half a good player. I think it's telling. And of course midfield. So Eriksen's just got bored and left. Lo Celso is looking good and has potential, definitely. We'll see. But basically, I think
look at get rid of Rose and they just leave Dave. They got rid of Rose and they got rid of who was their right back? Trippier.
Trippier.
It's a bit like
no replacements.
Well, like with you remember when Everton got rid of Lukaku? And then they just bought loads of like the same player, the same attacking midfielder, about 10 of them. And Spurs have done that really with the transfer market. They've bought the likes of say Lamela. On his day can be great, but does he play? Is he a bit injury prone? Should he have been perhaps moved on 2 or 3 seasons ago? I think the fires need to be fought there at Spurs, and I don't think they fought them, and it's catching up with them because once 2 players have gone, they're just sort of like a lower mid-table relegation type side. And that's bad.
Wow, you said it, not me. I'm already the one going in hard.
If Son and Kane are back in, hey presto, it starts to gel a bit more. But yeah, as Pranil said, once those 2 talismans have gone, what are you left with? Lamela?
Yeah, I mean, like Pranil said, I mean, any team would struggle if you take away their 2 best players.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just. I just feel like it's not. I feel if Liverpool could kind of patch over it better, at least they might be more solid in defence, or they've got players. Origi's like a great backup player to have. Whereas Tottenham have had the problem of no decent backup for Kane for like 3 or 4 years.
And a terrible defence. I mean, in the last 8-10 weeks, they've been bottom of the table for defensive stats.
Yeah. So, and I mean, they sold Eriksen with Mourinho, knowing that Lo Celso and Lamela weren't really fit to fit to come into the team. I don't know, the strategy around it is just really odd, and I
we've
think they're really going to struggle this year.
We've had a bit in the live chat from Billy Pigeon 23, who I think is Top Marks, our colleague.
He's Top Marks.
It is Top Marks. Yeah. He says, Joe, yes, we have moved on since Bale. We played some excellent football under Poch. Mourinho is still finding his feet. Excellent. Let's hope he finds the trophy cabinet as well, because Pochettino certainly didn't. And let's.
Joe, you're a savage tonight. I love it.
So anyway, are we done with these types of teams? Can we move on to a bit of strategy? Okay, so just before we move on to what we're going to do with the blanks and the doubles and what we know so far, I just want to mention a couple of things. One of them is that we got videos and podcasts all week. So we've got captaincy tomorrow. Later in the week, we've got team news, got breakfast club. As each development comes, as blanks are known and double game weeks are revealed, all of those types of things, we'll be with you with those. So, don't catch up. So if we don't complete it tonight, there's plenty more videos and podcasts to come from Fantasy Football Scout. The other thing is to give the scores so far. Chelsea 1, Liverpool 0, Reading nothing, Sheffield United 1, and of course Newcastle United are 1-0 up as well. So what that means is currently Chelsea, Sheffield United and Newcastle will be missing game week 31. Liverpool will be playing. So anyway, so that's what's happening at the moment, but it could all change. It's half time in those matches, or gearing up towards half time.
I'm hoping it changes.
Yeah, so anyway, I've talked enough. Panel, fire away. What are we talking about here?
So we're just going to talk about what's going to happen in game week 29, what's going to happen in game week 31, which is the blank game week. As of today, there have been some noises on Twitter that we could have a double game week in this current game week, which is game week 29. So just hold off your transfers until the last 15 minutes because Liverpool play Bournemouth, which is the first game of the week as well. And we could get some early news. And, they play Madrid, Atletico Madrid a few days later. So in case there's a benching, you have that advantage of information to play with. So watch out for that. I think tomorrow we should know if we are having a double game week in 29 or not. So just watch out for that news. I think it's going to be pretty likely that we have a double game week in 29. Currently, Arsenal are against the idea and City want it to happen. So it could go either way. When it comes to game week 31, there's one definite blank. That is Southampton versus Arsenal. That game's not going to happen in 31. We definitely have Wolves versus Bournemouth and Burnley versus Watford. We spoke about Wolves. We spoke about Watford. Both good options with a game in 31. Today we find out about the few remaining games. If Liverpool do lose to Chelsea, they play against Palace in 31. If Newcastle continue to win, then Newcastle versus Aston Villa in 31 is a no-show. Tomorrow we find out if Leicester have a game in 31. If they beat Birmingham, they don't have a game. Spurs versus Norwich is an important game. If Spurs win that, Norwich versus Everton goes on in 31. If Norwich wins that, Spurs versus West Ham goes on in 31. So with all of this information, what sort of tip strategy do you have or what do you do? First of all, wait. Don't think about anything until Friday. I would say until Saturday to see if one of the big boys from Liverpool are benched. But what kind of strategies do you have? I think most people, what they're doing is, a few people have 2 or 3 Wolves players. They have 2 or 3 Liverpool players. They have a Pope. They have Cantwell, DCL. If you have a team with 5 or 6 players amongst this group, I think you can build towards a team in 31. Maybe get 1 or 2 players in 29. Then wildcard in 32, 33 and focus on free hitting and bench boosting in the 2 big double game weeks that we have later. That will be the most common strategy. Now, there's one very risky strategy as well, which I call the Jarvis strategy. He mentioned this on the FFS board. You could actually play very aggressive and wildcard in 29, which is this week, if we have a double game week this week. Now, what do you do if you have a double game week in 29 is you get 5 to 6 players from Man City and Arsenal. You get 9 players who are playing in 31. You have 2 free transfers to find 11 players in 31. You free hit in 34 and build towards a bench boost team in 37. That's the ultra aggressive play. It's a creative way of playing. There's no right or wrong in my opinion.
Blown my mind. Who was that again? Did you say? Who was that from?
Jarvis.
God.
from the
That's good.
FFS Sports. It's a great thought. It's a nice thought. It's a very
really
aggressive
good.
strategy.
It's
I
a
like
really
it.
good thought.
Yeah.
I think, well, you need a greater mind than mine, because that
Yeah.
takes
So
an enormous amount of dedication and planning, because of wildcarding then, but not using the free hit in 31. But it's an unusual strategy that could really work, because not many people
It
are going to
works.
do that.
Most seasons we've seen the unusual strategy actually wins. The template thinking doesn't in the past. There's a couple of more strategies that I'd like to talk about. What I'm personally looking at doing, because I don't have a team that's good for 31 right now. So what I'm doing is focusing on the 29 double game week. If there is a double game week, get a couple of City Arsenal players in. Free hit in 31, wildcard in 32. It's not ideal that I can't free hit in either 34 or 37, because I genuinely think it's an advantage to free hit in a double game week. But we'll have enough information. I'll focus on the teams that are highly motivated and have good fixtures, and just take it from there. Another strategy is if you could, free hit this game week, if there's an Arsenal and City double game week. If you already have a good team in place for 31, especially if 3 Liverpool players are there and 3 Wolves players in a team, you could focus on this week, wildcard this week. Sorry, free hit this week. Sorry, what did I say? Free hit this week. And then you can wildcard in 32 and take it from there. So yeah, there's lots of options. Just wait for all sorts of information. It depends a lot on what happens in the Liverpool game. So if it stays this way, I think most people are going to be saving their free hit in 31.
I mean, my big problem with free hitting this week, and my big problem with this double game week in general, if it comes this week, is that I hate both the double game week teams. I mean, City. Obviously, I don't hate City; they're fantastic. But I mean, they're going to have Man United, and then Arsenal, and then that's what is that? And that's sandwiched, and then Real Madrid, right?
No. They'll have Man United, Arsenal, Burnley at home, and then Madrid.
And then Madrid, yeah. So I mean, I just think there's going to be. I mean, who is going to play? Is any of their players apart from Edison going to play in all those games? I'd be amazed. So they worry me. And then Arsenal, I mean, oh God, Arsenal. I mean, you've got to assume they're going to get battered by City because they're rubbish still, and City are great. And so you're banking a lot on that West Ham game. Aubameyang still on the wing. I actually like the look of Pepe. If I was going to pick someone, sort of Pepe and Aubameyang could be the standouts.
Pepe, I like the look of Pepe against weak sides, because the thing I noticed about
explosive.
Pepe, he's really explosive. He's really. There was against Olympiacos. There was a great move he did where it was just like, oh, pass it, shoot, whatever. He was just it seemed like he was in the penalty box for about a year, and he was just moving, jinking around everyone. I just thought, well, this amazing
decision making is terrible.
And then it just came to nothing, because Olympiacos' defence is quite good. And so against Man City, I don't like the look of Pepe. Against West Ham, I potentially like the look of Pepe. He's half.
It's a Man City without Laporte, though. We got to pay attention to that.
Yeah, Pepe against Otamendi would just dazzle him into submission.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, like a few people are putting out in the chat. I mean, the other problem with wildcarding so late is the wildcard is such a powerful chip to change your team for like a couple of weeks, to get in players who are playing for something, the good fixtures, who and it's not just a 1 week. The free hits, your 1 week punt. Your wildcard should get you good returns over quite a prolonged period. So if you're thinking of using your wildcard in 36, 37, you're getting quite a limited use out of that chip. So I think
I've done it in the past. It's worked beautifully. I genuinely think it's very team specific. If you have a good team, if you've got 3 Wolves players right now, you've got a few Everton players who are in form, who can last till 35, 36, they're highly motivated. You could play a wild card that late. So when I had my best season, I wildcarded in 35, and 37 and 38, I hit game week ranks under 10K. So I finished the season really strong. So I just don't think.
35. That's 4 weeks. That's 4.
No, I wildcarded in 36.
In 36. Okay, so three weeks. Yeah.
And 37, I bench boosted, and 38, I finished the season, and I just had 2 tremendous weeks. I get your point that there's limited time to play. But if your team's good enough,
But
then you don't
that's
need
the thing, though. That's the point, though, isn't it? I mean, like you could, what some people might think, they might see these strategies and think, okay, this is the way I want to play it. But actually, they're just kind of treading water until they get to 36, 37. Whereas if they'd played it roundabout now or next week, then it could benefit more from it. I mean, it's completely dependent on your team.
To say, we need to say that your team needs to be in good shape if you're playing your wildcard league. That's all.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I played my wildcard earlier, because it was rubbish, and that's why loads of people have actually. I didn't realise I was. So I'm sort of coming on here as the guy who's wildcarded strategy, because there's quite a few out there, and they were asking me on social media to explain sort of what I'm thinking. Okay, so already played the wildcard, so your team is full of players, a bit like so. On the good side, you've got the likes of Wolves players. You've still got some Liverpool, and hopefully you're quite flexible. And then you've got the potential around Southampton, Sheffield United. They're sort of your bench fodder. You might have a bit of Newcastle in there, a bit of Villa. You've got a bit of bench fodder there. But that's like a lot of teams. So what I think you're looking at, the ideal situation there has got to be carry on stocking up on double game week players and free hit in blank game week 31. Now, a lot of people are saying they're not going to use their free hit in 31. So in a way, in a strange way, it sounds like on social media anyway, that free hitting in 31 seems like quite a different move. But that seems to be a good strategy, I think, if you wildcarded. And I think even if Liverpool have a game in that. See, I've got 3 Liverpool. I want to keep Salah and Alexander-Arnold. I don't want Firmino. I'm thinking of getting Aubameyang in, even though he misses game week 31, because I just think Aubameyang's
if there's a double game week in 29, let's mention that.
But I think he's a good player anyway. He's just someone I've earmarked anyway to get in. I think he's also a very good Maverick captaincy punt. And
they have nice fixtures, actually.
And they've got nice fixtures. For the next, And I think I would get him in, and then that leaves me in that game. So I don't think, oh no, I've got Salah and Alexander-Arnold. I can't free hit in 31 because I've got. But the thing is, I can, and in fact, I can mix it up a bit with a sort of a Liverpool lineup. I don't really want long term, but I wouldn't mind it for one fixture. And I could get something like Mane in as well, or I could get Van Dijk in, or whatever. Just I don't really want 3 Liverpool as such, but I could, and I could get Mane and Salah and then I can fill the rest of the team with make up the Wolves quota, and then see who else is around. Say for Watford, for example, I don't want 3 blooming Watford players in my team for the rest of the season, but I wouldn't mind for 1 week maybe Sardini and the Duke himself, Decore. These are the kinds of players I wouldn't mind. Who else is playing that time? It's Burnley, for example. I don't want Burnley for 10 fixtures, but I wouldn't mind for 1.
Charlie Taylor.
I wouldn't mind Charlie Taylor, Pope, double action, double up in defence.
They were so lucky against Newcastle, though. I mean, exactly. Newcastle played so well.
That's why I don't want these guys, but I wouldn't mind for just give it a go. Get them a complement of 11. Get some good players out there for 1 fixture, but not players I really want long term. And that's the way I look at it, really. So I'm really hopeful. That's the way it'll transpire for me. Other people might be in a different shape if they're wildcarded before, and they might be able to field maybe 7 or 8 players with maybe a hit or 2, and they'd be happy with that, and then you can free hit later. There are different permutations. One final point I want to make with chip strategy and stuff. This is the kind of season, I say it every season, everything goes so blooming tribal. I'm wildcarding 34, you're wildcarding 37. Oh, you're free hitting then. Oh no, and everyone's team is completely different. It doesn't matter when you free hit, your wildcard, your triple captain, your bench boost, whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you got a plan. As long as you have a strategy and a plan, you've done your research, you looked at the eye test, you read your news reports, you looked at the stats and all of those kinds of things. And that is what I think is good. So I'm not interested in all the tribal stuff, and just have a plan and see what works for your team.
And let's talk about coronavirus. I think Top Marks just asked on the chat as well. Will there be preponements and the league finished early? So it's better to finish off your chips early in case the league ends with the coronavirus.
Yeah. Well, if Boris is going around shaking the hands of everyone infected, then it's likely it's probably going to kick off. So
yeah. As I just like to touch on the City and Arsenal players that Az and Joe touched on. When it comes to City, though, I don't see any of them like as mentioned, if they have a double game week in 29, getting 2 games, I think you have to be really lucky. Edison will get them. KDB is the most likely to get them. I think he's important to have in a team. If City have a double game week, I'm likely to get KDB. It's too risky to go without him. He's a legit captaincy option as well, if they have a double game week. A way of looking at it is, though, you look at it as having 2 starts in a block of 3, which is the United game, the Arsenal game, and the Burnley game. Now, I own Aguero, and Aguero has this tendency to be a under the radar pick whenever a double game week shows up. I quite like him right now because I see him playing one game and maybe 30 minutes in the other game. But I definitely see him starting Burnley at home because Jesus smashed it against Madrid, in the away tie, and I see him starting the Champions League game. And City versus Burnley is a standout fixture in 30. So I'm very keen on holding Aguero in 30 because I think he's going to be pretty useful in 30 as well. So that's that. Outside punts, if you're looking for some punts, I think Gabriel Jesus is a nice option for 9 million. You just have to pick the player and hope to get lucky that he starts too. He's definitely going to play 90 in my opinion. Mahrez is a good punt. Sterling is a high risk punt. I wouldn't go there. He's going to cost about 12 million. But, people who are chasing mini leagues and are few points adrift, take a gamble. And one pick that I really like is Otamendi because they just have 3 or 4 fit defenders. Otamendi loves to score his goals. He's a good pick.
I love Otamendi.
In my opinion.
Every time I've had him in my team, he has scored for me and got me double-digit hauls. And I just think, I don't even know what I'm witnessing when it comes to Otamendi getting points. Somehow he's doing it. But
And then just comparing Aubameyang and Pepe. Actually, I was doing a bit of a comparison between the two. So Aubameyang has got a legit goal threat, but Pepe's got a legit assist threat. So their XGI, in fact, matches up because of the amount of chances and big chances that Pepe is creating, because of set pieces, corners, as well as his general assist threat. So I can't get Aubameyang because I have Aguero, and I'm not looking to make that shift. So I have. If a Liverpool midfielder doesn't play, I'll shift him to Pepe and get KDB as well. That's my thinking at the moment. Yeah. Saka is a good low budget option. You can expect an assist or 2 + 2 appearance points in the 2 weeks. But that's about it.
How's this one? Ceballos.
Okay.
My old mate.
Hasn't he got a top knot now on his hair?
Oh, I don't know. I can't even stand to look at him, to be honest.
Very 80s.
2 starts in 2. Good fixtures.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he's scored for Arsenal this season, has he? No. He's supposed to be one of the best players in the world. Everyone's going mad when he signed.
Martinelli. If I thought Martinelli was going to start, I like him. I really like the look of him. He looks fearless as well.
But I think Arteta has somewhat sidelined him. He's preferring Nketiah and over him. So there's also Mesut Ozil. He's been starting, but he's not been in the FPL points. But he's playing the games. Arteta likes him. So some points if you're chasing.
With my team, I've got KDB already. I've already said I'm very keen on getting Aubameyang in. I think they're the two kind of ones that most people are going to captain. They're your shields there. With Aubameyang, he's got a bit of a sword element to him. And I like your shout. Saka just fits the bill for me because I've got Moy at the moment. I got him in for the last. Sadly, Moy didn't.
Oh, he was awful against Palace.
I know. Sadly, he didn't do well. But I got him in. I spent a bit more on that price so I could go for a fifth midfield pump for a double game week. So might as well try it out now. And I think Saka fits the bill. With Kolasinac out, Saka should play. I know Saka is playing in defence, but is listed a midfielder. But he's getting the chances. He's creating the assists, and see what he gets against City. Who knows? But it's really that Man West Ham game, and I think for 4 points something or other, that's around the 4.5 mark. That's going to be. I think that's completely fine. And for me, that would be without a hit. I wouldn't get a hit to get Saka in, but I'll be quite happy to get him in for free.
Just a pointer here. Both Aubameyang and Pepe hauled in the reverse fixture against West Ham this season. I think it was Lundberg's game. Pepe got a goal and assist. I think Aubameyang did pretty well as well. Yeah. Just something to mention, I thought.
Aubameyang, I've owned sporadically. I've owned him mainly in the Sky game, but in FPL, I've always enjoyed owning him. I know some people don't enjoy owning him, but he was the Golden Boot winner. He does score a lot. He always looks like he
knows where the end of the goal is. He's a great finisher.
And it doesn't matter when he's out on the wing as well. He still manages to find a way to do it. I like owning. just that stage of the season to get players you
He's
like.
frustrating. I mean, I had him for like 8 or 9 weeks when he went on a sort of a relatively poor run. He is frustrating, and Arsenal are frustrating because they should be better than what they are, but they just can't. I don't think Arteta's improved them as much as we all thought he maybe would.
Yeah.
I think that West Ham game is going to be really interesting because a week ago we would have said Arsenal are going to absolutely smash them, but
West Ham's improved. Yeah,
they have improved quite a lot, and I want, and West Ham I think have got quite a good record normally in these sort of London derby matches. So I don't know if it's going to be as easy as people think. And then if they've got City as well, it's not.
With City, there's also the Arteta factor. I mean, he's been under Pep for so many years, so maybe Arteta knows what Pep's
0-0
is
written
like.
all over that. Both just cancelling
You
each
don't
other
know.
out.
It's kind of intriguing, right? Just to see Arteta line up against Pep for the first time. I don't think it's a write-off game because he knows what Pep's all about. So you don't know where that's going to go. So many mind games might happen. You know?
Yeah.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say we've had some updates in the scores. Chelsea are still 1-0 up against Liverpool. Reading have now equalised against Sheffield United. Sheffield United may end up playing Game Week 31. Newcastle are 2.
That needs a derby to beat United as well.
Yeah.
Just adding that.
So could have a fixture. Newcastle, however, are 2-0 up, so it looks like they're going through in the cup and therefore not playing in game 31. So that's another reason for me to free hit, because my mighty Fernandes with a Z cannot be played in that game week. I like him now he's got me some points. Let's move on to
I'd just like to add one thing, that if you're people are scared of punting if there's a double game week, if you're like me, definitely you're looking at free hitting in 31 and then wildcarding in 32 or 33, you're not going to get stuck with the players that you're punting on. It's a week or 2 week top punt, so don't be too scared, that's all.
Yeah, that's why I like not if I had a wild card still afterwards, after game week 31, I quite like the idea of sort of dead ending my team in 31, stocking up full of Burnley and Watford dross and just get going for that, and then you can ship them all out. For me, I'm quite happy to just go with them in game week 31. But yeah, that's a really good idea and a really good strategy, and I think that could work. Let's move on to game week 29 and differentials as well. So it's Az's turn next. So I just want to recap here. Karen picked Jota last week, didn't he? Do well. So good off to a flyer there. It was rewarded with a goal. Holly's pick of Fernandes with an S. Can't stop scoring ever since. So Holly's really picked a winner there. Pranil, you picked Pepe, who is still in play. I think he's got he missed a fixture, but that's Arsenal's fault.
2 out of 3 returns, I think.
Yeah. So we've got another return left out of him, and let's have a look. We've got here FPL Fairy kindly posted that. So anyone else to mention there? Oh, well, Lee, didn't he do poorly picking McBurney? 0 out of 4, and so ends the McBurney.
He doesn't count. He doesn't count because he didn't have a good match.
Oh, so McBurney's still in play.
He's got him for another week. Can't get rid of him.
So still a chance. And Harvey Barnes for Tom, picked there for Tom Freeman, hasn't done so well. Full of a lot of promise there. So, who is your top pick of a 5% or lower owned player for the next 4 game weeks?
Well, there's quite a few actually that I like the look of. I think if you are chasing mini leagues, I think there is potential in quite a few players to get you points. I'm actually between 2. It's going to be kind of like a live decision. I think I probably would go for Pepe if Pranil hadn't picked Pepe already, so I won't be boring and go for him. I do really like him over the next few games. I mean, like you say, decision making is awful, but good.
He's explosive. That's how.
Yeah, and I mean against Brighton, you don't exactly need good decision making. You can kind of just do whatever you want and get a goal. So I think he's probably going to have a great. Everyone's going to have a great game against us. I think we're going to. I'm worried, Joe. I think we might go down. To be honest, we're awful.
It's not looking good, is it? No.
It's just really bad. We've got to hope other teams are worse. But
it's
good job they
gave the manager a 6-year contract.
It's amazing though, isn't it, that it can happen with 2 completely different styles, 2 completely different managers, this slump at the end of the season. Anyway, people don't want to hear us talk about Brighton all night. So yeah, I do really like Pepe. I also like the Arsenal strikers if one had emerged as an actual striker. So we thought Martinelli might be one for a bit, and then we thought it might be Nikita, and then Lacazette's knocking around. So that's all a bit too worrying. But so I won't go for them. So I'm between two. I'm between Doucouré, who we mentioned earlier, who I really like. Playing much further forward. I think it's just a masterstroke from Pearson to get more out of him than he offers, because he offers so much to Watford anyway. And actually thinking, you know what, let's just play you a bit further up the pitch is, really, really clever tactically. And I'm reaping the reward to that, because he's looking really dangerous. But it's really, really hard for me to resist the allure of Alonso playing at wing back. I think I picked him earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Chelsea just scored another goal. Just thought I'd
so that's it. So Liverpool.
So looks like they'll have again. Yeah. Well, Liverpool's season might end in a week now if they're going to lose against Madrid.
And I still can't get out of my head Mark Lawrenson on radio the other week being interviewed, and about how when they had the league wrapped up really early, they just got really drunk for several weeks toward the end of the season and didn't win another game again. So.
Let's get back to Az's differentials. We were talking. Sorry, just big news.
No, it's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's important. I mean, you think about 31 and who's going to be playing in that game. Having my 3 Liverpool players in that match is pretty
huge.
Good.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, so
if there's no double game week, I think I'll move towards dead ending in 31 without using a free hit as well.
Yeah, I think that really changed the landscape. But I mean, Alonso. I mean, you can pretty much go back to my old video. What I did, right at the start of the season, where he was in the team for a bit and he was scoring points for fun. I don't need to sell him to you both. We know he's the king of FPL.
Absolute
plays.
Royalty.
Absolute king. He was king even when he was playing at fullback. He was still getting points. Yeah. Now he's at wing back again. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, the point of these is a differential punt on the short term. I think Hudson-Odoi is still injured. Pulisic is still out. Pedro is awful. I think he's going to stick with his system, at least in the short term. They're going to crash out of Europe against Bayern. They've got no chance in that. So while they're playing with a wing-back formation, I just think he is the best pick, because he's amazing. The only problem with him is, when does he lose his place? If he was in the team for guaranteed, he'd be an absolute no-brainer in everyone's team, but you've always got that kind of worry. But for the purposes of differential picks, I'm going to pick Alonso, because why not?
Great pick. Love that pick.
You'll get no arguments here, because if Alonso plays, chances are he's going to get points, and he's going to get a lot.
Goals.
And he's going to get a lot.
And he should have had a hat trick. He should have had a hat trick.
Yeah. Chelsea are 2-0 up against Liverpool, so it looks like Liverpool would play. So big decisions here. For lots of people, that means they're not going to free hit in Gameweek 31. For those like me, I think I might still free hit in 31. Because I'm really go to town on Liverpool, and not so in my main team. So anyway, let's have a look at clean sheets. So what we have a look here is the next 6 that we've got coming up here. Who are the best for clean sheets? Now, as luck would have it, apparently, Arsenal are. But of course, if the City game is shoehorned in, that'll probably move them down a little bit. But nevertheless, it could be a time to have a punt on Arsenal defender. With West Ham, Brighton, Southampton, Norwich, Wolves and Leicester. I think Wolves and Leicester could be a chance with scoring against them. But I think for the next 4 or so, you could be doing all right. Watford as well. I mean, they could definitely got a fixture in 31, the likes of Foster and any of their cheap, their budget defenders. They could be really handy enablers for those free hitting there. So anyway, they've got Crystal Palace, Leicester, who aren't looking good actually. Burnley, Southampton, and then Chelsea, Norwich 34. I just wonder by that stage whether Norwich will be down or whether Norwich will be really, really fighting for it. Chelsea, defence looking good. Your man Alonso, Reece James, who I mentioned, who's sort of the dullard version of Alonso. Everton, Villa. The City game, obviously, in 31, which will not take place. So that's going to be a double game week sometime. West Ham, Watford and Crystal Palace. Leicester, if you still think Leicester are any good, they've got a big sea of blue. Norwich, Wolves still ticking along. Newcastle, hope for my Fernandes with a Z. And Sheffield United still doing well. It's only really the Tottenham game, I think, looking the possibility of not getting a clean sheet. But then Tottenham aren't, as I've been slagging them off quite a lot already. So, a possibility of a clean sheet there. But the rest of them, not Newcastle, Norwich, Burnley, Wolves. Wolves, I think, could be a problem for a clean sheet there for Sheffield United, but the rest of them fine. Worth noting that Dean Henderson cannot play in game week 31 anyway. Even if they were playing or not playing, he can't play anyway. So no matter what happens in the different permutations, Dean Henderson can't play because he's on loan from Manchester
So one of his double
United.
game weeks will be a single game week.
Yes, indeed, for Manchester United.
I mean, that's interesting to know.
So which is making me
stuff.
thinking. I mean, I've got McCarthy and Dean Henderson at the moment, and I am thinking of a goalkeeper switch at some point. But yeah, I'll see what transpires. Probably for when a double game week comes up. But anyway, it's well worth mentioning those clean sheets. Let's move on to our game week 29 plans, which are at the moment we're going to say up in the air. So here's my bus team. I've got 2 free transfers. I had earmarked Firmino to Aubameyang. Even though Firmino is at home to Bournemouth, Firmino can't seem to score at home at the moment. Bournemouth, as we mentioned earlier, appear to be fighting a little bit at the moment. Aubameyang is a player I like the look of. I actually might captain Aubameyang. If he is got a double game week, I would definitely captain him. If he's got a single game week, I'm tempted to captain him as well. I'm just a bit sick of captaining Liverpool players. To be honest, they're not getting me returns for their prices. But I do accept that Salah at home to Bournemouth, especially because he's being rested tonight, is a very tempting. So yeah, it'll be between Salah and Aubameyang. Ings to Calvert-Lewin, that is a big possibility. Ings to Jota is another possibility. If there's a double game week, Moy to Saka will probably be my other move there. Lots depends on further announcements though for me, but that's sort of where my thoughts are at the moment. Pranil, your team is up on the screen. What are your plans?
It's simple. If there is a double game week, I think I move for KDB and maybe Pepe. I'm hoping one of the big Liverpool midfielders don't start, so it makes my decision easier. If there is no double game week, I think I'll move towards building a free 31 team. So I'll probably lose Aguero, and I'll lose one off target or Lundstrom and get Jota and Doherty and load up on my Wolves assets.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, it's lots of up in the air, but it sounds like you've got lots of options covered. I know a lot of people who got Vardy in or got Vardy. It was suddenly what do you do? Best thing to do if you have Vardy is just bench him and just hope for the best in the end, as you did and I think for me, you didn't have Vardy and just not get him anyway. But it sounds like you're all prepared for different scenarios. We may get.
Yeah, I just wish I kind of am leaning that there is no double game week this week because it makes life easier.
Yeah.
So I was reading about how the fixtures would fall in place in 34 and 37, and very few teams would have a double game week in both those weeks. So it would be ideal to navigate both those big double game weeks with a free hit and a bench boost. So I'm hoping to save it, but I don't see myself saving it given the fixtures and given the possibility of a double game week in 29.
Yeah.
So lots of thinking to do this week.
Yeah, lots of thinking to do for me as well. I mean, I did actually earmark game week 29 for a bench boost. And I still don't completely rule that out. Okay. What has slightly scuppered that, I think, I don't fully trust Southampton's defence now. But I thought
they were terrible.
But I thought that a couple of weeks ago, and I left my 2 Southampton defenders on the bench, so I left 13 points on the bench. So it could be one of those games again. But yeah, Southampton they're looking poor at the moment. We've mentioned Ings already. As your bus team, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean on paper, I think it looks pretty good. The double game week potential is kind of worrying me a little bit because I'm not really set up for it. I can't get Aubameyang easily. Pepe is probably the one I want, but I'd have to take a hit to get him. So yeah, I'm sort of with Pranil. I hope it's actually not a double game week, but if it is, then I'm going to have to probably just take Martial and Traore out and get Pepe in for a hit, which will be fun, I guess, because I never thought I'd be owning Pepe a few weeks ago, but he's the kind of player who could do quite well in this week. If there's no double game week, I think I'm just going to hope that Vardy's fit. I mean, I really needed him for that Norwich game and Leicester to win that, and he was injured and it was devastating. But Villa are, Villa away from home are going to give up a hell of a lot of chances, and I think Ndidi's back now for Leicester. If Vardy's back as well, they're going to be pretty much they're going to be at full strength, and they need to get their act together if they're going to finish in the top four. So Villa, disappointed after the cup game, which I thought they played really well in. You've got to think there's going to be quite a big return for Vardy in that game if he plays. So hopefully all the pain of Vardy over the last 2 months will be worth it. Hasn't scored since before Christmas, which is absolutely crazy. Now we're in March, but this is probably his last week for me, whatever happens, and I'm hoping he can sign off with a decent haul.
I've been reading the chat right now. I mean, I think Chelsea have hit the bar again. I think Liverpool are defensively looking very, very leaky at the moment. What are your thoughts on Liverpool now? I mean, 3 games they're losing. What do you think happens now?
I think it's a lack of motivation, and I think I just think if you're that far ahead, you haven't got much to play for. It looks like you're going to win the league. Well, it'd be amazing if they don't. And I just don't think they've got it in them. Do you remember years a game against Stoke at home around this time of the season? Liverpool playing Stoke. Everyone was going, Stoke are really in for it. Stoke are going to get battered. And I think it was 0-0 or something. Now, I just wonder with this Bournemouth game, with Atletico Madrid, crunch game. It doesn't matter who plays against Liverpool, who plays for Liverpool. I just think Atletico Madrid's going to be on their mind. And, the likes of Salah, Firmino, Mane are going to play, but are they going to get subbed off early? Are we going to see Origi instead of one of them? Is that why Origi's playing in the cup tonight? Get a bit of match fitness up. It's just lots of ifs and buts, and that's what's making me lean towards some of the other teams.
I mean, the reason I've got Alexander-Arnold and Robertson over someone like Van Dijk or Gomez is because of this kind of issue that I foresaw. That they're not going to keep clean sheets every week. They've got a good set of fixtures, and I thought they might keep a couple. They had West Ham, and then they had Watford and Norwich as well in there, and they've got Bournemouth next. But they're both incredibly attacking defenders. So at least if they don't keep clean sheets, they still. I mean, Robertson's in the top defenders for. Is it shots in the box chances. Or the chances and things like that? So, his stats are really good. And I think people have underestimated again just how big Henderson being out of the team has been.
It's huge. It's the team's dismantled after
he does not get the credit that he should get because he glues that team together. He's a bit like Firmino in the strike force. You take him out, and suddenly they're all less potent.
Yeah.
You take Henderson out of the midfield, defence is less good, the midfield's less effective. He does so much to sort of anchor the whole squad together. So,
do you think the
he comes back,
winter break has spoiled their momentum as well?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's not. They were pretty poor against West Ham, and they managed to kind of claw their way back out.
And they scraped through against Norwich as well. So ever since they come back,
yeah. So I think it could be. I mean, it's really hard to say. I can't imagine Klopp would let them sort of rest on their laurels. Exactly. He's such a passionate person that I can't really see it. But every team goes through a blip.
For sure.
Some people have suggested that Henderson being out has affected their form, but I did some research on that. So in the captaincy video I'm doing with podcast I'm doing with David tomorrow, I have a watch of that because I've done a bit of research on that, and the results may surprise some people. Meanwhile, in the chat here, it has been suggested that I can't find it now. Ricky Tan was saying. What? Haha, definitely not. A lack of motivation. Presumably talking about Liverpool. Okay, that's fine. They obviously beat Watford and they're beating Chelsea tonight. No problem. All solved. Well done there. And meanwhile, it's just probably a good time to say goodbye before I start having a go at anyone else.
You've done the Spurs. You've done Ricky in the chat.
I know. There is now. I've done top marks who I'm work with. Who else? But I will give a plug to the members area. So a lot of the stats that we've been drawing out here have all come from the members area. A lot of them are actually tables that made ourselves, and anyone can make these tables. Really easy. And I know I've got the goals imminent table in there, but there's lots of tables, really easy to do. Just put, best strikers, whatever, best midfielders, chances created, expected stats full of those as well. And there's some new stats in there, but it's all in the members area. Have a look at that. You can get it.
While we're throwing in plugs,
yeah.
just need to mention that Fantasy Football Scout is now on Instagram as well.
Ooh.
As did a video this week, so did I. Both of us mentioned Doherty. If you paid attention, you could have made some points this week. So
Nice
follow
plug.
us on Instagram as well.
Hey, I did it the week before he got his first double-digit thing on
Nice one,
so.
nice one. I recommended Jota and Doherty as well, so they need to follow us on Instagram now.
That's it. It's got to be done.
Yeah.
And on that note, and good plugging all round, everyone. And but for now, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye. Have a good week, guys. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, all.